Go ahead and preempt that and do it for the fam anyway. Okay. So, recently in the meta of Zerg versus Terran, Hydra Ling Bane has become a lot more popular. And you could ask, first of all, why is that the case? Well, both Banelings and Hydras got little buffs each. Whenever the Hydra speed upgrade and the Bane speed upgrades kick in, all the units get plus 10 HP, which is the same sort of deal as combat shields. So, just as general trading units, they're better than they were before. The Baneling HP increase means that they're more likely to make it to their targets and connect. The Hydra HP buff just makes them better at absorbing damage in general, and also means that they're going to be able to take 2 Liberator hits before they die, which is a really important relationship in the Zerg versus Terran meta. Hydra Ling Bane wasn't really a composition that was possible at a high level before those changes. So Bane buff, Hydra buff, Liberator nerf. With all those 3 together, it can be pretty strong. So the things we'll cover with this are how much you need to drone, what upgrades you're going to take, how many gases you need to take, and how to divide your forces to deal with a Terran army attacking you, and how to deal with the drops that are going to go into a different base. So this game I opted to go for hatch gas pool and pull off of gas fully, and hide a little drone to take a 3rd base. The build order you use at the beginning isn't super impactful. The most important thing is understanding what your edges are for the build that you choose. So the build that I chose, I'm pulling off gas, I'm making a bunch of drones and queens and lings, and taking a 3rd base. So by pulling off gas, I'm very focused on minerals, which means I'm going to have more income to make more drones and more queens and more lings than a build that stays on gas. Builds that stay on gas, you could go for Overlord speed after your ling speed and get a fast scout. You could go for 1-1 upgrades really fast with your next 250 gas. But the key thing is, whether you're going to stay on gas or pull off gas, you need to utilize the strength of that build. Really build a strong edge for yourself. So since I have more minerals, I'm going to go ahead and send my lings in just to get a scout, and I identify that it is Hellion, which means I want to make some more lings. This early game stuff is nice, but it's not super crucial for the point of the video. The point is, what is our goal? What is the convergence point for Hydra Ling Bane? Hellion's looking around, Queen Ling trying to deflect. This Overlord goes in, and I see the 3rd CC. I don't really need to look for anything more than this, because this right here tells me that he's focused on economy. He wants to make a bunch of workers and power up over the long course of the game. This means he's not going to go for fast battle cruiser. He can't really do Hellbat Banshee in the same way. This is a very economy focused play, so I respond to that by droning really hard. Hellions are a counter unit to Ling Bane aggression early on, so he's preempting that and he's taking a safe opening. A lot of players will think about, alright, my opponent went for a fast 3rd base, should I attack them? If your build is already an economical, kind of solid greedy one, then attacking into them usually isn't going to be super effective. If you had planned to go for a big all-in from the beginning and that's part of your build, then that's a little bit lucky for you. But in this case, I'm trying to win the greed war. So what am I doing? I'm making some lings to defend this medivac stuff that I saw. I have queens. Let's see my unit composition. 7 queens, 46 lings, and 62 drones. I took the gold base as a 4th. The really nice thing about going Hydra Ling Bane is it's a stronger direct fighting composition than Ling Bane Muta. Mutas are very fragile units. They get blown up by Widow Mines, and they're hard countered by Marines. Hydras have enough range, once the range upgrade kicks in, to shoot Widow Mines before they go off. Since that's the case, if you have an Overseer with your army, and you have some Hydras, the Widow Mines are pretty useless for the Terran against your Hydra Ling Bane army. Another benefit is, since you have a really strong ground army, it's easier to control this area. If you're taking the gold base, the risky aspect of that is the Terran can try and entrench themselves up on this ridge and then shoot the workers at your base. But if you have lots of creep and you have lots of army, you can just occupy this area and smash anything that tries to come through. One thing that's really important to note about Zerglings in general in all three matchups is if you have a lot of them, you should be attacking with some of them and defending with some of them. So I sent some Lings into the natural, I sent some Lings into the third, and I'm trying to create an economy lead for myself. So I think I'm right around the convergence point here. My main base has both gases, so that's one base with 2 gases, 3, 4 gases. I'm taking melee upgrades. I messed up my upgrades this game a little bit, whoops. Melee 1-1, melee 2-2, Bane speed, Hydra speed, and then I'll take ranged 1 as I'm going to a hive. Only 1 gas here, and no gas here. So Hydra Ling Bane is a 5 gas build, and the main units of the composition are still Ling Bane. The Hydras are more of just an accent to that. They support the Ling Bane, but the Ling Bane is really what fights and dies on your front line. That's your big buffer. Those are the units that are getting upgraded and really getting the most of the work done. Hydras are just a nice backline for that. So look at my hotkeys down here at the bottom. I have my hatches on one key, I have my main army on another key, and as the opponent is attacking me in 2 places, I want to basically have some Hydra Ling Bane on a Muta hotkey. Normally I would have my Mutas on a separate hotkey from my army. With the Hydra Ling Bane style, I don't have a Spire, I don't have Mutas, but I still need to address threats that just boost into my main. So what I'm going to do for that is create a hotkey that goes and addresses those types of attacks in my main. So about 70 workers, 3 to 4 bases of mineral saturation, and 5 gases. Whenever you're transitioning into hive, you can add more gases onto that because you want to make ultras, and ultras are very gas expensive. It's a pretty A-move oriented composition. You don't need to micro too much. Zerg as a race in general, in most situations, is more about creating a split for yourself where you have 2 groups of stuff and then you converge on the enemy and you get a nice concave and surround. A lot of people will over micro their units. This happens especially in the mid leagues of StarCraft where they feel like they've seen players stutter step their units, so they should be move commanding and stutter stepping. You don't need to. You A move. We're Zerg. Come on. It's not that complicated. We have basically bad units. We have the worst units of the 3 races, but they're the cheapest and they're the fastest. So we want to be very swarmy. We want to be wide and all over the place, all over the opponent. So now 2 Medivacs, thinking about dropping my main. I have a big army here. I'm expanding down. If you look on the minimap, this is my main, my natural, my 3rd base, my 4th base, and my 5th base. This base is protected by these rocks, which is pretty nice. Queen should always focus the Medivacs if and when they can. 2 Medivacs here. So I think right around this time I'm going to be splitting off some army and creating a drop defense group. I have my infestation pit, which gets killed. Unfortunate. I probably should have started my hive. Oh well. Jason's a pretty quick player. He's a quick guy. Anytime the Terran pulls your attention to one place, it's always a good idea to assume that they're going to attack you somewhere else far from that place. That's the main benefit of Medivacs, is they can be all over the map. They don't have to worry about cliffs and that sort of thing. And if they're directing your attention to one spot with a couple Medivacs, it's likely they're either going to push or drop another location very soon or at the same time. So look here, I have 93 units on my main army hotkey and 37 units on my other hotkey, which is just a bunch of stuff here and some stuff here and here. Cool. So I filled the role of drop defense without a Spire by having some Hydra Ling Bane. Taking this base, Queens are defending here. If Medivacs boosted over or Liberators, they could shoot at them, which is great. There isn't too much dead space here, so I think Queens could still shoot units even if they're on the very bottom of the map. Going for the hive. I think I added Burrow. And I took Pathogen Glands for Infestors in case I wanted to make a bunch of those. And I've just been mining more resource. You can see we're both able to max out, and I have a bigger bank because I've had the gold base for a really long time, which is nice. So he's pushing in, kills a Hydra Den, but I have my Ultra Cavern on the way. And I already have, what, 22 Hydras. That's a pretty good number. I don't really feel like adding more Hydras would benefit me that much. I have some Queens for anti-air. I have tons of Ling Bane, 38 Banes. Have my 5th base up, and Adrenal Gland should go as well, yep. So Ling Bane Ultra is still the main idea of it. The Hydralisk is the supporting unit that allows you to power up into Hive pretty quickly and have a really, really strong army that does well against Widow Mines. Whether it's Biomine Medivac or someone who's trying to troll you with Mass Factory Widow Mine, Hydralisk with range and Overseer is the hard counter to that. Because they can kill the mines before they even fire a shot. Awesome. Always counterattacking a little bit. You get pretty big diminishing returns on having all of your Zerglings in one place, because that makes you a little bit more vulnerable to splash. Doing some contaminates on the starports is a nice little thing. Nice little way to get value for my Overseer energy. And then this is the most crucial base. The worker that was building this was killed. The Hydra Ling Bane reinforcements I put on a hotkey, and they're cleaning up all this stuff. So that's pretty much game. Hydra Ling Bane in a nutshell. Around 70 workers, if you can manage it. 5 bases of minerals or so. 5 gases. Ultra transition, maybe some Ling counters, and some infestors to support. In the late game, remember to bring your queens with the army. If you have tons and tons of bases, you don't need to keep injecting too much. So bringing them to the front line to be able to shoot Liberators and transfuse the Ultras is a really good sort of finishing move for Zerg. So that's about it. That's Hydra Ling Bane. Wondering if you expanded into the opponent or the opponent expanded in my direction. Why not both? I expanded toward the gold base and then forward because Hydra Ling Bane doesn't really want to be expanding away from the opponent. It's a more forward-leaning composition. Ling Bane Muta is more of a back-leaning composition where it requires more gas, so you're less likely to be the aggressor. Neuro Schwarm. Good stuff. That is some good stuff. Let's do